Would you like to tell us about the similarities and differences between the case in Gothenburg and here in Kočani, which is a line which connects both cases?
Well, the similarities are horrifying, really, and that was one of the reasons why we were asked to come here. That is similarities in that it's a disaster who hits young people. It's an amusement disaster, if you know what I mean, and I say that because at such an event, nobody is expecting it to happen, so it comes very sudden, and also the numbers, and well, very much that. So there was some kind of a recognition between the two disasters, even though it's almost 30 years ago in Gothenburg, but it's still very relevant to start comparing, but also see the differences.
You had direct talks to the people here who were wounded and
yes.
People who were killed.
We went to the grave, me and Rospe the first, and we didn't know what to expect. But then we ended up not knowing where to put our flowers because there's more than 20 graves in a row. And we saw this family and we asked them, could we put our flowers to all the graves on your grave? And then they took out sandwiches and something. And so we had a small meal there. And also yesterday at the closed sessions we had meetings with not that many, but a number of siblings, parents, injured youngsters also. Not in the amount that it's representative, but very specific cases.
What are your impressions from these talks with the people?
Very much the same. There's always one thing. I think most of them did recognize that some good things had happened then they were, and some have had talks to adults and professionals and psychologists and so on, but also I think as in general a fear more than an acute disappointment that this maybe it won't be handled in a fair, just and secure way from the authorities. I have to say that they did express it, and one young boy said, if this won't happen, he was grieving, but it wasn't what he wanted to talk to us about. He was grieving and said, there's no point in staying in this country if this also, he said, will be handled in the wrong way. I don't want to explain more because he had this meaning, but that was his fear, or a lack of trust, and which is not a good starting point for crisis intervention. If you compare to trust, a good welfare system, working authorities, and so on. So there is. I said this morning at the evaluation that a disaster or a crisis situation is for sure an extreme test of a society. Everything is revealed, shown, and whatever. And depending on whether people want to change or start defending or closing, it could go either way, I say. But meeting the culture that you have here, and we tried to read before we came, and there was one message was rather explicit in every document about the country, and that is you will meet friendly people, warmth, generosity, and we have. And if the politics don't work, lean on your culture instead, because we've been so extremely well received here. So that gave me some trust, and maybe it gave him, this young man also some trust. But well, there was a fear.
Do you feel that you fulfill your aim, your intention to come here to help people?
No, not that we didn't accomplish something, but it's a black hole, really. But we knew that, and they knew that, and so we just decided we will have to continue our conversation. But we have some comfort in saying we didn't come here with the truth, but we came here with experiences that it pays to be active, to do things. Some compassion pays. So we didn't tell of all our mistakes, and we did many. But don't stop trying. We're leaning on. Somebody said once that expert is the same. It's the same word, or derives from the same word in English as experience. It means somebody who has tried, and we have tried. So in that sense, we are experts. So hopefully we could encourage also your society, which, and I have to say, surprised us that you have a lot of resources also, but you have some gaps in the welfare system that needs to be adjusted, but much less poor than I expected, really. I met colleagues here, very well trained, educated. I would have loved to have them in my staff in Gothenburg. So remember that.
There is a saying that time is the best tool to heal your pain. Is it a right saying for this case?
I would say for most people, yes. For some people, time is a pain, really, also. So it depends. Sometimes we're too focused on time, and I had a small speech about this morning, that time is horizontal. Crisis and trauma are vertical processes. And if I may end with a proverb that I used, and I picked that up in South Africa, and it says something about time, and it says, if you want to go fast, walk alone. If you want to go far, walk together. So that's my statement.
Thank you very much for your help.
Thank you.